This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Darren Hazelwood, the CEO of Panther Metals, following news from the company about the graphite discovery at Obonga. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Darren. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, Mark.
Well, thank you for your time. Before we get into the news, could we perhaps just have a refresh on Obonga? Because I know when we spoke before, and of course you've mentioned Leanne, you've said that you're making the next VMS discovery, VMS district in Ontario. So, I mean, how are things shaping up looking at Obonga? What is it you were originally looking for? What typically do VMSs hold?
So VMS, they're known as a junior company makers.
Okay.
They tend to be high grade, low tonnage, and invariably they contain zinc, copper, silver, gold is known in VMSs, lead as well. They're sort of the five predominant minerals, and they're of course known to cluster, and that's exactly what we've found already at Obonga. And we've got to remember that within the hunt for VMSs, we've put 6 holes in the VMS areas in Obonga in total. Of those 6 holes, 1 is at survey. That's confirmed the survey area is a VMS. We've also put 5 in at Wishbone, of which we've intersected 11.8% zinc over half a metre in 1. That confirms that the fluids are running rich in the area. That also aligns with the copper lake seds that are very tightly clustered, but over 10 kilometres in that location. And we've hit 4 different VMS lenses out of 5 holes. It's absolutely remarkable.
Okay, right. So that makes perfect sense about, the VMSs, what they typically contain, and the fact you're basically proving up this area that's got VMSs in. How does this then tie in to the graphite discovery? Because they're not typically found in VMSs. Does this really sort of shine the torch somewhere else on the project, and there's actually a graphite discovery here?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened.
Right.
So the awkward area is basically to the northeast and to the north of where where our main focus is on for the VMSs. And it's drilled as a potential conduit target. Now, in fairness, this drilling didn't go deep enough to even contemplate hitting the potential nickel copper in the conduit. But what we did intersect, as you've seen today, is graphite. And the graphite, on review, the graphite is at surface. In this instance, it starts at 8 meters, but we know from historic reports it's at surface. In the historic reports, graphite is mentioned in abundance in the area. Now, that's a remarkable statement in any geological mapping. And that's why it's taken a little while for this to come out. We wanted to secure the extra land that was announced between Christmas and New Year. Now, that would look like a fairly benign RNS, 35 claims, but actually we believe that holds a lot of significance in terms of the graphite. But because no one's ever been looking for graphite in the location, people aren't always necessarily aware of the potential upside, and we were, but we had to be strategic here. That's why it's taken a little while for all this to really come together. But now it's together, and we've got everything we wanted, and we're away.
Okay, so it's taken a little while to come together. You mentioned there that ties into the new claims that you managed to stake or get hold of over the Christmas period. But I mean, we're talking that the graphite was the samples that you're talking about was actually from October 2022. So that is a fair long time ago. How come it took so long to sort of follow up on the graphite potential?
No, it was drilled in October of 22. The results come out in February of last year. So within that time, we've been reviewing all of the historic data. We've been aware of the area that was absolutely critical to the scale of this opportunity.
Okay.
And those negotiations have been going on for some months. And whilst those negotiations are going on, obviously you can't always show your hand. Now, we've made an assumption on visuals on the core, but we couldn't absolutely define it until the core has been to the lab.
Yeah.
Until we've got those results. Now that has to happen in a staged process. Obviously, we're regulatory. We have to stay within the regulations, and we have to release news as we get it. Now, we suspected what we've got, but we also had to close this deal around it. So it has taken a little while. But also we've got to be appreciative of where the market's at. So we haven't necessarily pushed that. But now we're seeing a lot more buoyant market, and we're going to push and accelerate into that market because that's always been the plan. And we're away now. So it's a very good day for the company.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the results and let's talk through some of those results. What do they mean? What's the significance? Are they commercial? I mean, some pretty high-looking grades there, but we are talking graphite, which is perhaps less familiar to investors in this space. So could you talk us through the results that have come out today and how significant they are and what they mean?
Yeah, in graphite terms, so I think we've got to conceptualize this, that this is one hole that wasn't looking for graphite.
Mm-hmm.
And like everybody else in that area. And as a result, the numbers are very good. The intercept size is good. The historic data that we're looking at and we're reviewing is very, very encouraging for the wider area. Are you looking at 21.5 square kilometers? And whilst it wouldn't necessarily be right at the top end of in terms of graphite grade, what we've got to remember is this is the first ever assayed hole into the sediments in this location that contained graphite. Now, in 1966, there was one other hole that was drilled. We've got confirmation, visual confirmation that contained graphite. It's the only ever hole that's gone into the sediments. Now, that returned graphite. So it's a really exciting moment that without looking, we've hit that. Now, we've discovered this through the conductors, and this particular conductor that we drilled, it would be one of the least conductive conductors. Now, our thesis is that the conductors in this area, and there are some lot better conductors within this location, the conductivity is coming via graphite. And if that's the case, then we would expect to be able to build this out in pretty quick succession.
Okay, and is that the plan then, Darren, to try and build it out? I noticed further down the RNS that there are some other trends in the area, like the country trend. So are you feeling confident that you're looking in an area that is prolific for graphite?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubts about that. So where we drilled in the country trend is actually is signified from the drill hole in 1966. And we can see these conductors all the way along. And this actually, they run for around 4.5 kilometers on their own. There's 3 conductive lines within that. And then if you look further north, there's a huge area that's frankly is virgin ground and completely untouched. And with this type of scale, it's not surprising that we've already had discussions with the Ontario government regarding it and the potential moving forward. So yeah, look, all we're doing, Mark, is delivering against that thesis. And sometimes you have to be smart to be able to pull these together. You can jump out there, you can jump into the market, and you can if you show all your hand into the market straight away, then everything becomes a lot more expensive a lot quicker. And trust me, on the back of this result, I think that you'll find that the deal that was announced between Christmas and New Year would have been at a sizably higher level than it actually was concluded at.
Okay, and so how are you feeling then? I mean, you look pretty sort of happy with yourself there. I mean, if you've made a discovery, that's what you wanted to do, wasn't it? It wasn't perhaps what you were looking for, but that's often the case. So, I mean, how are you feeling about this, that you're able to make this announcement today?
Oh no, look, that's what we're doing it for. And it is a very exciting moment for the business. But from my side, for the strategy, we've put the infrastructure in place to business. I've talked about this. We're delivering against what we said we would do. We've always said that we'd maintain our structure. We would always, our as much as we can in terms of income, would be going into the ground. We know that drilling is the only thing that will transform these companies. You can flutter around the edges all you want, but actually it's the drill bit that's gonna deliver in terms of share price gain. We're also now, because of this, we're able to narrow down our own story and be able to give people a better direction. And that will become clear over the next 3 or 4 weeks as to what 2024 will deliver. We know we've got the VMS systems. We know now that we've got the graphite story to go into. It's over to, this is a minimum of 21.5 square kilometres to look at. We know it's contained there. We know it's at surface. It's very close to Thunder Bay, and it's what a junior miner's there to do and what we want to do. But I think it's most important is that we can then start delivering against story. And listen, I want to be able to put KPIs out there for people, and that's difficult to do in a very bearish market. And as we enter into a more bullish market, I think KPIs we're going to be able to manage those and deliver that, so that investors know exactly what next stage is going to be across the whole business.
Okay. So we can watch out for some future news from the company about indeed plans to prove up more of the graphite potential here at the project, but also continuing with the wider business strategy across the other projects. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. We're here to deliver, and we're delivering against everything we said we'll do. It's the time frames have extended, but some of that is beyond our control. But it's a good place to be at Panther at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Darren Hazelwood, the CEO of Panther Metals.
Thanks, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.